Now, page 4, a blue state governor is taking credit where no credit is due. The Newsom-Cuomo bi-coastal game of scare them to death with outrageous projections and then take credit for the good news when those projections do not come to fruition is going full throttle right now. They claim they are flattening the Wuhan coronavirus curve. Are they? Question, is Andrew Cuomo flattening the curve, or is Mother Nature flattening the Wuhan coronavirus curve? Oh, sure, Cuomo and Newsom and Pritzker will take credit for it, but there's not a shred of evidence that any of these government-imposed orders to stay home and shut down the economy have had any effect whatsoever on the spread of this particular virus. And you know what? We'll probably never know. But we do know this. These blue city mayors like Eric Garcetti, who have been scaring people for weeks by quoting dire projections of death based on flawed models, are now looking at the same models and the empirical evidence, and, well, they're forced to do kind of a little tap dance around the raw data that disputes these draconian predictions. It was only 3 weeks ago, just about 3 weeks, that this so-called well-respected scientific model predicted 2.2 million Americans would die from the Wuhan coronavirus. This was published far and wide, from the New York Times on down throughout the mainstream media. 2.2 million Americans dead. At the time, some of us said, that's crazy talk. Not many of us, but some of us disputed those dire warnings from these scientific models from the beginning. And, well, those models were just plain wrong, not even close. Another model predicted that the United States would need around 165,000 hospital beds sometime during the first week of April. Well, state totals from during that time frame reported only about 22,000 nationwide in use. It also predicted that roughly 65,000 patients in New York would need hospital beds during that same time period. In reality, only 15,000 hospitalizations. Bottom line, we are going to be nowhere near these outlandish predictions that drove people to panic sell on Wall Street and panic buy toilet paper. We're going to be nowhere near them, are we? And so while we know that the models are failing to produce accurate predictions, these blue state governors still come out and quote them. And the reasons are simple, glaring, and ideological. They are using these failed models to scare residents into not questioning their massive unconstitutional power grabs. And when the dire modeling predictions fail to materialize, why, these same political snake oil salesmen will flash their well-capped teeth and take credit for saving lives when no credit is due. And so Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, understands that this is a rare opportunity. And before he allows life to return to some semblance of normal in his state, he's going to attempt to accomplish as much of his radical agenda as possible, like aiding and abetting criminals in his state.
Governor, a number of state legislators are calling on you to establish an emergency fund to provide direct payments to undocumented immigrants who are obviously left out of the federal relief bill. What do you think of that request, and is that something you're going to do?
We've been talking to the legislature. We've been working overtime on our budget. I've got this, what we call California, the May revise, that is on my desk, and we are working through those issues, I-10 issues, those in mixed status families that are not beneficiaries of.
So you get the point. You get the point, right? So the governor is indeed, one way or another, along with the legislature, going to send money directly to illegals in the state of California. How many is that? How many illegals live in California? Well, we don't know. One of the reasons we don't know is because we're not allowed to ask through the census. Remember that big battle? Well, California has a population of around 40 million people. could be 10%, 4 million, could be 5%, 2 million. Let's go with the lower number of 2 million illegals in California. That's a large number of California taxpayer dollars going to illegal immigrants, people who have violated our sovereignty and are living in this country illegally in the middle of a crisis where millions and millions of Americans, millions and millions of Californians alone are suffering because of the draconian orders of governors like Gavin Newsom. People are going to lose their businesses. People are going to lose their livelihoods. People are going to lose their ways of life. People are going to lose their health because of the edicts and decrees from this guy. And he has the nerve to come out there and work with the radical California legislature and figure out a way to bypass the federal government, which shut out illegal immigrants in this so-called relief bill that was passed, because it's using Social Security numbers instead of tax IDs. Social Security numbers instead of tax IDs. And so the governor is going to use tax IDs, and he's going to send California taxpayer dollars to illegal immigrants in his state. This is proof of what I've been saying all along, that these draconian measures are simply a cover for allowing these radical ideologues to achieve their nefarious goals. And their nefarious goals have nothing to do with the United States Constitution and everything to do with crushing liberty and harming our free market society and turning it into some kind of socialist utopia that Gavin Newsom envisions somewhere in his brain and somewhere in the recesses of Bernie Sanders' brain, somewhere in the recesses of Elizabeth Warren's brain, all of these, Barack Obama, all these masterminds, this utopia that they're driving American society to. Watch Gavin Newsom after this. Keep your eyes on Gavin Newsom. He is the guy to, not Andrew Cuomo. Gavin Newsom is the guy to watch post-corona in the months and the years following. This is a very dangerous individual. This is the latest iteration of Bernie Sanders really on steroids. Look out for Gavin Newsom. So what does the end of this constitutional nightmare look like? Well, in California, it's going to be whatever this guy says it is. The lives of 40 million people, most of whom are American citizens, are hanging in the balance, waiting for this constitutional midget to allow them to live life. But what if? What if Governor Newsom does not relinquish full liberty back to the people of California? What then?
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.